I'm not sure this monocle fits. Welcome back to the letter V 6 times. Last time we got through Intermission 1 and rescued this guy, Professor Vitellary, and we can find out a little bit about what he's got to say. Anyway, we'll come back to him in a little bit. I wanted to show off this area. As you collect trinkets, this is one of the rewards. You can hang out on the ship and listen to the awesome soundtrack, and they stay collected even if you're doing another playthrough, which I think is pretty great. Victoria being her usual self. Sniff? You have no nose! Your smiling face always cheers me up. And she's out of new things to say. There is a point where she can give you a little bit more information, but now's not that time. You know, most people prefer a slight bit more personal space, Meridian. Nope, just gonna stand there, alright. Hey, look, it's comedy and tragedy. It's tragedy and tragedy. It's comedy and comedy. By which I mean I'll mostly watch TV over here. I get 4 different channels. Verdigris is the guy we're going to rescue this time. We unlocked a little bit of information about him the last time by finding that monitor. Yeah, that's a little bit more socially acceptable. But yeah, once we're done here, that will be who we're going to go find. This is actually a little bit of foreshadowing to what the level is going to be like that we're going to next. They fell off the dimension. That's why we wrapped it around to prevent that. Yes! Fascinating discoveries by just standing here in this area of the ship. Alright, we've heard this already. So, there's the green area that we found earlier. It's in the upper right, but getting there is going to be... it's just going to rely on our explorational skills, because the pathway to there is complicated. But we'll pick up some trinkets along the way. At this point in the game, I really found that the exploration... it's kind of done. You know, there weren't real challenges happening here. Although when you do get the trinkets or level entrances, things like that that involve the spikes, then there's a little bit more difficulty and there's something to keep you interested. And there are some spikes right there. So we're on to something. We don't know what yet. Let's explore this area a little bit more. Alright, there's our last clue. Something about an infinite tunnel, and definitely something about Vermilion. It's actually not faster to teleport back. We're close enough to the area, and there are a couple more things to find out here. Here's some more spikes. This is one of the trickier areas to get through, I find. It's kind of a mini version of the really hard trinket that we collected last time, and I'm not used to it, so it's a little bit more difficult to get used to your momentum. And you have to know your momentum pretty well not to die at all there. There is a no-death mode in this game, where if you do the time trials, which there are also some of those, and collect good enough ranks on those, you can unlock it. Man, it's tough. I've never finished it. I don't know how close I've even come. But it's available, and you don't have to collect the trinkets in that mode, but, you know, if you like accomplishing things, you can certainly do that. Oh, okay, I lived. Okay, this is pretty interesting. And look at the map, you can see we're not in the blue laboratory area that we've seen before. The Verdigris area. I'll mention some things about this later, but it looks pretty cool. We'll definitely want to visit there. But okay, and that's kind of a... Okay, because of the spikes there, that's kind of a one-way. I guess we're left with no choice. We'll find out what this is. Alright, here's the next level, guys. Good job! Alright, we seem to be in a pretty random spot here. If you recognize the squares, every time that we've found a new crew member, they've been near those squares. So, what they are is one-way teleporters. You could probably gather that from what you're seeing. But, nevertheless, one of the good things about this section is it fills in little areas of the map. So if you happen to end up in this area first, it can close off some areas that might be red herrings if you're just navigating by the map. And the other cool thing is this is kind of a segue to some of the level that we're about to see. Alright, so that area you can see is close to a teleporter. Maybe we'll be able to work our way down to the green entrance. But let's explore and see what we've got. Great! More dead ends. Clearly this is still part of the overworld. Yep. Yeah, there are a lot of dead ends in this area. And apparently areas that are looping. That's going to be a little bit disorienting. It's not actually a Lost Woods situation or anything like that. It's just, it's a prelude to what's about to come, this weird looping. And that's the only trinket left in this particular area, so now we just need to work our way over to the exit. As soon as we can figure out where that is. Remember, we were trying to work our way down, but... Okay, that's going to take us back up. That checkpoint is highlighted, so we've already been here. I found this area to be kind of, well, frustrating the first time that I went through. Especially because you think you're onto something and then bam, brick wall. And that's the path that we took to the trinket. That's probably not it. I wanted to go down. Okay, that's probably not it. This got really irritating the first time I went through. But we know we're on the right track because the landscape is different. It's not particularly hard, though. Okay, that looks like a path to... Okay, a path to something. Good. And there's a teleporter, so we never have to go through that again as long as you've collected the trinket. And it makes it easier to get back to. There's our gimmick. So this new level adds the wavy background, which means many entrances or many looping areas of the room, but just one exit. And this one's more puzzly than some of the other areas, and I really like it. It's called the Warp Zone. For... I guess you can figure out why. It's actually one of the really fun areas to speedrun because you find little paths that make the teleporting between areas go a little bit faster. But for the most part, in this area, well, aside from the parts where you're staring at the back of your head, what you're really looking for are just pathways. There's not a whole lot of enemies, there aren't a whole lot of obstacles that you really have to worry about timing your dodges with, although when they're there, they're hard. This room's a little bit easier if you exit the other room from the bottom exit on the right rather than the top. That way you only have to go through that obstacle course once. This area is relatively short. Usually the teleporters are about the halfway point, and we're almost there. That is a really tricky dodge to time. You've just got to keep an eye out for when each one of those is going to move. I like this. It's sort of a three-dimensional feel to it. You have to think a little bit more before you move, and it's much less reactionary. It's much more of a puzzle area. Hey, at least the cube gives you a sporting chance. It doesn't say run into. This is a deceptive puzzle. Those blocks fall a little bit faster than you do. So you have to time it a little bit and give yourself a chance to shoot the whole gap. And this is one of my favorites in the whole game. Those big gaps between the Pac-Men, they look like they're big enough to get through, but they're really not. Private lab. Did we not just see a lab earlier? So, we'll want to get into that blue area as soon as possible. No security cubes with a void are going to stop us. Here's what I was talking about. We've got to shoot these small gaps, like that, and then take advantage of the big gaps to go across the screen. That's hard to figure out the first time, but I love the puzzle, because it's actually really fun to try and execute it right. It's tight timing. And background change means now we're doing one room at a time. So the puzzle element is a little bit more complicated. You just have to look ahead to see where's a safe place to land. And there are a lot of spikes. Of course this will make me flip. Most puzzles in this game do. Identify the next safe spot that doesn't have spikes. And there they're even using the corner, so that's really challenging to just visualize. They really touched on everything that they could do here, and I like that. And this is another area where the gaps that are safe are a little bit deceptive. So you've got two different times that you can apparently run into the heart or dodge it, but only one of them is really safe. The other time you're going to run into the other hearts. Or you can rely on getting pretty lucky. And the top path is not exactly safe, although you can use it. I prefer to use the bottom path here. And here we go. And as you can guess, there's a teleporter nearby, and you can see the squares to the left, which are one-way teleporter squares, so we know kind of how he got here. Not too long until the exit, and if you were to come here right before the first intermission, you would be able to see that this is kind of a hint as to how the mechanics will work once you're actually trying to drag somebody through a level alongside you. But there we go. So that's the warp zone. I really like it. And we're almost to the end. We're getting pretty close. And if you remember, of course, there's an intermission now after every crew member, so let's see which one's coming up. Oh no.